What's up, guys? Rasbora and Alpine Sniper back at it again with another video for you.
Oh my god.
Make sure you destroy that like button, smash it, destroy it, end it.
Oh my god. What's up, guys? It's Alpine Sniper, and today I'm joined by Rasbora. He's one of your main streamers for Hell Let Loose content. You can catch him over on Twitch. He also has his own YouTube channel. Raz, you want to say hello?
Heyo.
So today what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the dev brief and give our opinions on what we see in this pretty extensive dev brief that is one of the largest that I've seen come out of Hell Let Loose.
Yeah, so I've gone ahead and completely reviewed the developer briefing, and it's long, man. It's like the longest dev
It's
briefing I
super
think we've
long.
ever gotten.
Yeah, it's super
But yeah,
long.
I've looked at it. I've thought it over. I made a video on it too. And I think we'll be able to discuss some really good things. If you don't know me, my name is Raz. I do a lot of tanking, but I do a lot of infantry too. So I think hopefully today we can kind of talk about our opinions on both fronts, the infantry focus, the armor, and kind of how it compares. And I think this goes into some huge tank stuff, which I'm excited. But yeah, let's go through it.
Nice. Yeah, I'll link your socials in the comments below, and you guys can catch him live on Twitch.
And if you want to see Alpine live too and talk to Alpine, he's on the stream all the time. So come over.
I'm a lurker. One thing about this dev brief, and it kind of addressed a lot of my issues leading up to this, which was we got a lot of corporate answers where it was kind of like very vague, kind of non-answers in a lot of ways, which, I get it because it's a tough game to play between not putting too much out too early, but also keeping the fan base happy. This dev brief, I think, did a better job of addressing some of the things that people want to hear with definitive answers. There's still a little bit of the vagueness in some of the areas, but again, it does seem they at least gave us a small roadmap of what's coming up as far as reintroducing the PTE and with these smaller patches coming. And then so we've obviously got the revert, the stepping back of the 2023 roadmap, which really just came out recently.
Yeah, a few months ago, right? Like
Yeah.
March?
Yes. And
somewhere in there. I can't remember.
Right off the bat in this first paragraph or first couple paragraphs, they're, basically saying that is thrown out the window.
Yeah. I mean, it's gone.
Yeah.
Like literally, like everything they worked on is just gone. I mean, not really, but for the foreseeable future, they've postponed it all. So like that includes pretty much all the small maps, like the
Breakcore,
the Breakcore Manor,
mm-hmm.
The skirmish mode, the what's it called? The objective mode, which was part of Breakcore. And my assumption is like with the skirmish, remember the skirmish was supposed to be on that other small map. I can't remember the name. They don't mention it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the one that they announced in the developer briefing. I'll see if I can find it. But I would assume that one's gone too, because that was supposed to be only for the small game modes as well.
Right. I mean, the whole thing is a little, it was something that kind of needed to happen, honestly, just because of the game isn't in a place where we can really add that type of content just yet. There's like I said early on when Team 17 took over, it'd be really good if they just stepped in, fixed all the legacy bugs right up front, and then the community would be willing to wait for some of this additional new content and new ideas that they'd be bringing to the table. I think it took 6 months to kind of figure that out for them, and that's kind of like where we are now is where we should have been maybe back in like January,
which is unfortunate because now it's just going to be like another 6 months of no content. It seems like, well, not really. It sounds like they have a couple new maps coming.
Yeah, it seems like there is still some leftover content. Either I don't know if this is from Team 17 or more leftover from Black Matter. Like they mentioned in the dev brief, they've got the night map for Saint Marie de Mont, and so
which is something we spoke about a long time ago. I don't know if you remember. What was this, like 6 months ago? I think he came on the podcast. Something crazy. Yeah, and like we were like, where are the other maps? Like there has to be a night SMDM, a night SME, a night Carrington, and I can't imagine they're huge changes. Some like skybox lighting, flames here and there. But yeah, like clearly they've been working on that. I mean, and that shows here. So if you didn't read it, I mean, SMDM is confirmed for a night map coming out at some point in time this year.
And then obviously, like we were saying, they completely threw the 2023 roadmap released only about a month ago out the window. What comes along with that is the revert of the speed change, which was a hot topic on both Reddit
So
and Discord for a while.
so they never mention revert, but they use verbiage like adjustment and like changing or
Sure.
scaling. So it sounds like there's some sort of like changes that they did to increase the speed, and that's
Yeah.
probably why they're not using that verbiage. That it's not like like I would imagine it's going exactly to the same speed, but there's probably some sort of like animations and stuff that have to be changed, and that's why which is kind of the other announcement they're making is the PTEs are coming back
Hmm.
to test
Yeah.
that, to make
Which
sure that the scaling works.
you saw the just this on paper, such a small thing as changing the run speed completely through the tanking game, in a unusable direction.
If you guys don't tank, to put that into perspective, the speed of the infantry was increased, but the vehicles themselves stayed the same. So people could run as fast as the vehicles. But which is the silliest thing. I'm driving full speed and people are just freaking like Forrest Gumping it towards me.
Well, I
Like
remember I
straight
remember
up.
when the patch first came out, and I remember just seeing like AT and engineer classes, literally they were suicide bombing the tanks. Like
Yeah,
the tanks were literally running away
as
from
fast as
like
possible, man.
infantry because of how fast they were able to get rockets
So
and
fast.
satchels on the tanks now.
So fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, oh man, that was just so frustrating. So I'm sad to honestly see it go. I know Alpine, you had a different opinion. You liked, well, I think you liked the increase, but you didn't like it as much, right? Like as much
Yeah,
as they scaled it.
right. So I do think that there is room for a small increase in speed from where it
Yeah.
was at the beginning. It
Yeah.
obviously it was just to an extent that it was just far too much. I think that like with these PTEs coming up and these patches coming out, we'll find a happy medium that kind of it'll all play out, because what we talked about with the vehicles, if they're unable to balance vehicles, at least they know that there's a base level running speed, obviously from prior to patch 13.5, that they can always go back to.
Yeah.
But I think that there is a small bit of room for a small increase. So, they stated on paper it was 15% increase. Whether or not, it's more than that, that's specifics that we're not going to get into. But I think that there is a small percentage that can be increased to the old run speed.
I'll be honest. I think this is just again, like I'm just saying pure speculation here. But like I'm thinking that they wanted to increase the vehicle speed after they
Hmm.
did this, and
Right.
then they realized they probably couldn't.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they're going ahead and adjusting it to slower because they can't increase it. I know on like console, there's so much lag when you start driving vehicles like
Hmm.
faster and faster. And I mean, it seems like when you start driving those tanks and vehicles, like there's a lot of rubber banding. It seems like they've also, and we'll get into that in a little bit. They've put some patches that have seemed to work
Hmm.
on PC for the rubber banding, but I think that there's so much spaghetti old legend code in
Right.
Hella Loose. Because what is this game like 5 years old now? 6 years?
Yeah, like I think the Kickstarter was at the middle or end of 2017, but like
That's what
early
I'm saying.
access came out in like 2019, I think it was.
I think they're realizing how much of a workload the Legends code is
Hmm.
in Hella Loose. That there are some things that like they know they just cannot change unless they work it like completely over again.
And that's kind
And
of
I think this is
something.
one of them.
Yeah, that's kind of something that I mentioned to other people. I was curious if, I mean, obviously Team 17 spent a bunch of money on this game, to obtain the IP.
40 to
But
50 million, right?
yeah, somewhere in that
Hey,
neighborhood. It's a lot, whatever it was. But something that I mentioned to some people when Team 17 was first coming in was, I hope that, because Black Matter was unable to address some of those legacy bugs, like the grenade bug, the loadout bug. Um, I was wondering if Team 17, while they were doing their onboarding and taking over, did they take a look at the code before they spent all that money to make sure it was something that they could work with?
yeah.
So,
I I'm very surprised because I think again, like when you were on the podcast, like we were even talking about the roadmap and we
mhm,
thought it was quite ambitious. We were like,
yeah,
oh wow. I
yeah,
mean, if they can change all this stuff, that's great, good. Like, but I mean, I had assumed they looked at the code. I'm sure they did, but maybe not to the extent that they're looking at it now.
Like when we were talking about with the speed change, it should be on paper, it should be an easy, like you think you just change a
Number.
value. Like, yeah, you just
Yeah,
change a
that's
value in the
it.
code, like tanks can move at this speed, boom, hit enter, done. But it's
But it
clearly not
almost
that
seems like
simple.
everything is separated. It's like, yeah, you change the speed, but now you have to change the animation, and now you have to
Right.
change the guns, making sure they're stuck to the characters, and now
Yep.
you have to make sure, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's what it seems like it is.
Yep.
Because it's clearly not just a value change that you do and then it's done.
Yeah, it seems like it's one piece of code is placed on top of another piece of code that's on top of another
That's
piece
what it
of
seems
code.
like.
Yeah, and it's like
Mhm.
you change a value in one of those lines, and it just like it cascades down the line, and things get all out of whack.
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, yeah, the reload speed is just too slow. Let me speed it up by 0.01. Oh, okay, now it caused every single, bolt action rifle in
Yeah,
the game to not reload properly," you know what I'm saying? It's like stuff like that.
uh, but the weird thing is too, though, is it's like it seems like there's bugs that happen live that don't happen on their testing side of things. That seems to be like the issue. Is like they'll make these changes and may or may not test these, internally before releasing it. But it seems like things pop up on a live server that never showed themselves in testing.
I
It's
don't know about
basically
that. I think it's just
that seems to
I
be
think
kind
in
of
the live service, there's just so many people that are playing at the same time, you know?
right.
So the odds of it happening. But I mean,
So
I think all in all, right? Like all the stuff still, like moving everything back, going ahead and adjusting the running speed to ensure there's somewhat balance between the vehicles. I think that's all great changes. Like
mhm,
I'm okay with the running speed being where it is. Like back it is slower, but I mean,
right.
as long as the vehicles are in proportion to where they were.
Yeah. At least, on the surface, it seems like Team 17 at
Yeah.
least is willing to accept that things didn't go according to plan. And, at least I'm not saying that one change needs to happen more than another, but at least they're willing to now go back to the PTE environments and relook at everything and get the
Yeah.
community's input as a whole. So hopefully, they follow through on what they've recently promised in this latest dev brief, and the community and Team 17 can grow the hell let loose from here.
And on the topic of PTE, just to kind of let you guys know, the PTE for the patch 14.2 is going to be on Thursday, the 20th of July, is what it's slated for. And it'll be looking at the locomotion changes, so the readjustment of the speed. They've put potential fix for the grenade bug, and then they're also logging data around the loadout bug itself.
Hmm.
But uh, like Team 17 Black Matter, they always love when you join the PTE. So if you want to join it, be sure to join it. You can influence the game, of course, and try to help out fixing these bugs.
With Team 17, since they were the ones to do away with the PTEs and are now bringing them
Yeah.
back, it's imperative that the community shows
Yeah.
support of these PTEs and gets in there and um, gives them the valuable feedback that clearly they need.
Yeah. I think we're all just passionate about the game. I mean, I know the community got upset, granted, rightfully so, right? But like, I mean, I don't know. To me, this seems like the light at the end of the tunnel. I've seen
Hmm.
on Reddit, it looks like the light at the end of the tunnel. I just hope it's not a train. I saw that all over. Like, I agree. I agree. I think that's like a good place where the community's at right now. It's like this looks good, but let's hope it keeps this momentum.
Yeah, I would say that the community is, as a whole, just looking for a win because it's been a while since Hell
Yeah.
Let Loose has really brought a W to the table.
There's a lot of people that are super passionate about the game, and I think that's kind of been lost with all these random people coming back and being
Hmm.
like, "Oh, this is unplayable. I'm leaving a bad review. I can't stand Hell Loose." And then this update comes out, and they're like, "Well, like it's good. I'm glad we went ahead and made some changes here. Like it's
Hmm.
about time. Our review bomb helped." It's like no, like just give constructive criticism. It's like
Yeah, and especially in the world of video games now, with the issues that a lot of games bring with early access, where they're unfinished and things like that. The consumer is in kind of this really rough spot where it's like it's very easy for a developer to ignore the community. Everybody really only has a few outlets to express their their opinions. So it's, it's really only Reddit, Discord, and then obviously you can leave a Steam review. Other than that, it's really kind of, I mean, I guess YouTube too, but those are all like, if a developer doesn't want to look at those or ignore them, there's not really any repercussions. Whereas to, the consumer is kind of at a boiling point now with developers, where they're tired of developers just kind of steamrolling their ideas, and everybody either plays the game or they get out. So I'm looking forward to seeing, hopefully there's a new kind of discourse between the community and Team 17, and how Hell Let Loose evolves from here.
Have you been on Reddit recently?
I
Last
have not.
day?
I have not.
I will
No.
tell you, Reddit is usually like
Brutal.
not great. Dude, it is insane. It is so happy. It's the happiest place on earth right now. It is
That's awesome.
incredible. I've never seen the Hell Loose Reddit be this happy
Well,
and
that's
like this
good.
nice. Yeah. And like
Team
people are
7.
like calling people out that are just like haters immediately. It's nice.
Well,
It's nice to see some positivity for sure.
yeah, Team 17 needs to ride that wave and keep the momentum
Yeah.
going now after, coming out with this type of a dev brief. So what are your thoughts on the new basic training environments coming to, I guess, to replace, what is it, the field manual? And then also we've got that practice range, which I'm very excited for the practice range, because there's not really a lot of ways, unless you go to an empty server, to practice. And if you go in there by yourself, you constantly have to have somebody either pick a squad lead so you can try out things, because you can't just pick like the AT gunner. Right. Like you need a squad lead to pick another class.
In console, that just doesn't exist at
right.
all.
Right.
Like, you just have to join whatever you join, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I'm hoping the way they build this this basic training environment is modular, to where they can go ahead and add things as they go, and they can kind of expand upon it. Practice range, obviously, just long overdue. I will tell you what I think, and what I mentioned in my video. I really think that you're gonna start finding guns are not as zeroed as you think, and there's gonna be a lot of like people on Reddit posting, "Hey, I found this issue with this gun. Hey, I found this issue with this gun." I'm really hoping most of them are zeroed, but that's what I think. But all in all, it's great. It'll be nice for people to actually learn how to take tanks down, learn how to go ahead and shoot and handle each gun, and really test them in a controlled environment.
Hopefully, they take some notes from the postscriptum and squad practice ranges.
Is great.
Yeah.
Postscriptum is good. Honestly, postscriptum is actually great because it's super basic, but I mean, it does its job.
I'm just curious. I guess, like, obviously, you need to be able to pick classes, like any class that you want in the practice range. But I'm curious because they showed the vehicles. So I'm curious if I'm going to constantly, like, if you just go in and you can pick anything, or if you're going to constantly have to redeploy into other roles. Like, if I want to drive the vehicles, am I going to have to redeploy into a tanker position? And then if I want to go back to shooting weapons, or is it just going to be like one role can do everything?
Battlefield 5, I believe, had a practice range, and the way they did theirs was they had like a box that you could walk up to and change your class or loadout from there. So if you want to change your guns or whatever, you could just go, and it would almost bring you to the main menu. You could swap it and then just go without having to like kill yourself, go back in, kill yourself, go back in. Yeah. So I think that would be nice if they had that. I have no idea if they do though.
Yeah. Now let's see. They're also talking about bringing. Obviously, that we knew this was coming because Team 17 has to recoup that monetary loss and purchasing Hell Let Loose somehow. The in-game store. We know that cosmetics of variation, different variations of cosmetics are coming. I'm assuming they're going to be coming to vehicles. They're going to be coming to potentially even weapons and stuff like that. But at least they said there's never going to be any pay to win items, and everything is going to be historical. Obviously we'll wait and see if that'll be true or not down the line.
You're not getting your pink camouflage Alpine.
That's unfortunate.
Hate to break it to you. I
mean, I can't. I'm not going to be able to hide in my pink bushes as much.
Yeah, I know, right? I think this is just more like accessibility, to be honest. It's just like, instead of having to go to the Steam store separately or having to go to Xbox or PlayStation store, it's just in the game. So, I mean, a lot of games have that. Like Overwatch, for example, is one of the most like easy to manage storefronts, and it's just right there. I think it's fine. I mean,
okay. Yeah. That's a wait and see kind of thing, because I'm pretty sure that that's going to get pushed back along with the small sided games, like the objective game mode. Since they're pushing that back, they're going
Yeah.
to push a lot of this other stuff back that isn't directly related to just bug fixes and health.
What do you think about it though? You think it's a good thing, bad
I don't
thing?
I
Like,
don't I don't mind it if it's just cosmetics and they're not immersion breaking. I
it's just the
do.
same thing they have, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially the same thing that they're already doing with the DLCs, but I don't really care. And
Yeah.
my opinion on this from day one has been that they need to lock certain uniforms to certain seasonal maps. So, I mean,
That's something they talk about too. Did you
yeah,
see that in here?
I did not actually.
While bug fixing is going to be our primary focus for the remainder of 2023, we're looking to also release desert uniforms for the
Hmm.
British and German forces, which we like, right? While
Yep.
continuing to deliver 100-player maps, huge. We can talk about that in a second, as well as DLC. To ensure these can remain our focus, we plan to revisit some aspects, such as the base winter uniforms, and address feedback around them next year. So,
Oh, I see.
wait, maybe this is, I don't know. To me, that seems like they're going to go ahead and look at the winter uniforms
But
as
does
well
that
as I imagine the desert.
right? But does that mean that they're just trying to make the? Because I know a lot of people have complaints with the authenticity of the winter uniforms, and they just want to update them to make it more authentic. Or are they actually going to be talking about locking them to winter maps?
That's a good point. Maybe it's more on the focus of making more authentic. I don't know. To me, I rate it more as like the aspects of it,
Yeah,
right? So revisit some
maybe we're both
aspects.
right.
Yeah, because to me, like if we revisit some aspects of the winter uniforms, I think that might, yeah, that might be both. You know, the authenticity and the allocation of it to
Yeah, I
summer
guess.
maps or whatever.
I mean, it's multiple times now in the dev briefs where they've talked about they want to maintain the historical accuracy. So by them saying, remain our focus and plan to revisit some aspects that, aspects can mean multiple things. So I don't, that the more I read it, the more it seems like it'll be more than just kind of like a cosmetic overhaul. So hopefully it
Yeah,
does
that's how
include
I read it.
yeah, I could see that.
Like locking it to the winter maps
Yeah.
instead of allowing you to do all of them.
Well, it'd be super. I feel like it'd be super simple to do too, right? Like, of course, we always say this as players, but
Yeah.
you basically just you categorize a map, right? Like in the coding, like this is a summer map, this is a winter map, and then go through and do the same thing with uniforms. And
So
you have like a summer, like so we've got two class slots now for people to swap from. Why not just make one literally say summer uniform, and that applies to all summer maps, and then the other one is a winter uniform, and that applies to all winter maps without having to go into barracks and constantly change it.
so let me ask you a question though. Say they release a winter outfit that you can buy as a DLC.
Right.
Do they reserve the right to limit you from using that on 80% of the maps and only have you be able to play it really on one map
Right.
potentially? Like if you do a American outfit, you can only play it on Foy. That's
Right.
it. So it costs you maybe $5 to buy it. Like, who are they to go ahead and limit you from wearing it on the others? I think that's
Yeah.
interesting to consider. And that goes with like the other ones too. Like, why can't you wear that on every one?
Yeah, my opinion on that is that it's an understood that when you buy, when you're buying DLC, you're really looking to support the company anyways,
Yeah, yeah, that's
So I don't, I, to me, I think that it's an understood that when,
purchase.
especially, because this isn't a Valorant, this isn't a Fortnite, this isn't a Call of Duty. It should be an understanding. I feel like with these historically based games that some things are not meant to be used outside of intended purposes sometimes.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And I will say a lot of the Call of Duty community is consistent like, yeah, I want more realism. I want more
Right.
realism. So
Because
maybe if they do limit winter
because there is
uniforms,
a there is a line in the sand between simulation and having fun. Like there, you know what I mean? So um there's going to be, if you just let everything run rampant, which is kind of the way that it is now. I mean,
yeah.
you can literally just, if you want to be that guy always running around on Utah Beach in your winter camo, it's going to drive the game away from, I feel like it takes away from the cooperative historical, immersion that people are really looking for in a game like this, and turns it
Yeah.
into more of another like, all right, this is kind of just like, all right, whatever, we're just here, like that dude's running around looking like, a snowflake, and kind of just it relaxes the atmosphere of the game, and can lead, you know what I mean? Do you see what I'm saying there? Like I feel like
No, no, I agree. But I'll
if
say, like for me personally, I'm never trying to break immersion,
mhm,
but I'm always forgetting to take mine off.
yeah,
Like, and especially if you're only wearing the helmet, there's no way you
right,
can see your helmet. There's no
yeah, exactly.
reflections. So it's like, yeah,
Well,
I mean,
and that leads to actually a lack of diversity, because a lot of people are going to get to that point where they're like, I'm tired of constantly swapping my character and forgetting to swap my character model, and then they end up just picking a very generic based uniform, so that they kind of fit in on all the maps, rather than
yeah,
having,
yeah, yeah.
a bunch of different looking characters. You don't always just have a cookie cutter team, because at some point, like that's what I do with my character. Like I've just got a character that fits in for the, each faction on every map. I don't mess around with any of the camouflages that would stick out if it was to be worn in the wrong
Yeah.
climate.
Yeah. No, agreed. But yeah, I think that's like the ultimate question is really like, do they limit you certain uniforms if you've paid for it?
Right.
I'll give you another example, right? Like if I buy a winter tiger, like uh smart material skin for my tank, should I be limited in only using that in
I'll,
Foy and the winter
I'll,
maps, you know?
I'll be honest though. If I see a winter tiger running around on Omaha Beach, I'm going to be upset.
Yeah, but no, I mean I would agree, but I'm saying like,
Yeah. No,
wouldn't you on Foy, wouldn't you want a winter tiger like
oh,
skin?
of
I'm telling you
course.
that'll look
No,
sick. So
100%. And
that
I think you can get around, I think you can get around that aspect. Like if you make really nice looking skins, if there's really nice looking foy skin for my American or German soldier, and I like, obviously for right now, I know that the Americans are only on one snow map. I'm not going to care though. Like if I saw like Team 17 put in the effort to make a really nice snow model, and I can only use it on a snow map, but I'm gonna get that just because, like, wow, like my character looks super cool for that map, and I realize that Team 17 isn't just slacking and just throwing together a random uniform.
yeah. It's just such a interesting topic. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
to be honest, I don't give a fuck if I can only use it on Foy. I'm getting a winter tiger if I get it. Like, shut up and take my money, kind of thing, man. Like,
a
I
hundred
would
percent.
love a winter tiger or like
Uh,
some. Have you watched Battlefield 5? Like, all the tank skins and vehicle skins on that. They have some
y-
really good
yeah,
pattern. Yeah,
yeah. No,
I would
I've
love those.
seen. Honestly, Battlefield 5. Like when you're watching the game, the graphical fidelity and some of the models and stuff that they use are really really sweet. But then
Yeah,
obviously you see people, running in the middle of the road at a million miles an hour, screaming their
yeah.
heads off, and it just gets crazy really quickly.
Every
And
time you mention Call of Duty or Battlefield, people just freak out and they're like, I don't want anything to do with it. But there's things that Call of Duty, well, not much Call of Duty, but Battlefield do that
mhm.
can easily translate and not impact the gameplay or core mechanics of Hell Loose. Again,
Well,
cosmetics is one of them. Like
right.
there is good cosmetics, both like
Well,
with the guns and vehicles.
and that's the weird part too. It seems like there's a disconnect in the developer community where map designers and
Yeah.
the graphic designers, they like go in and they'll make some really cool looking things, but then the game producer side of the development team, they say like, all right, well now you can have like a katana as an American, and the Germans can have M1 Garands, and it's like, so you've got like this really nice character looking model on a really nice looking map, but then you've got this American soldier running around with, pink boots and a keychain on his rifle, and it's like,
Yeah.
what, like where, how did that happen? Like, because obviously the artists took a lot of care and effort into what they were doing, and then the developers, like the game producer side, was just like, let's just do some crazy ass shit.
I'm hoping that Hell Loose like holds strong. And it seems like you mentioned, right? Multiple times, like historical accuracy, you know, feeling grounded. Like hopefully Hell Loose maintains that grounded, somewhat close to reality, approachable realism that Hell Loose is. Like that's just what Hell Loose is. Like I don't care what anyone says. It's approachable, realistic game. It's
Hmm.
not like a hard, poor mill sim. Anyone that says it's a mill sim is just wrong. Like who? How can you teleport around the map?
Yeah.
Like you can't. That's what this game does.
In the debrief, they've got the listing of, so for 14.3, they've got the specific listing of bug fixes that they're looking to do. What are your thoughts on the rebalancing of like the British and as a whole, as a faction? Like, what are some specific things that you're hoping that they do? Or because I can tell you right off the bat, for me, I think you just kind of push the P14 into like obscurity and like some of the classes and like make it like an unlockable. Whereas like the Mark IV really just needs to take over and be like the main battle rifle in a lot of the
That
classes.
is my favorite. Yeah, I love it. I really like the Mark IV. I think what was it, the jungle and the P14 they really have is like the majority of them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's like it's really, they've got like these very obscure weapons that the British, I mean, that those were just not the main battle rifles, and they're pushed forward in all of the classes, and then the Mark IV is like an
Yeah.
unlockable on some of the classes, and it's like I don't even feel like I'm a British soldier half the time because I don't have the right weapon in my hand.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, I'm probably not the expert on the infantry aspect. That's probably more so you. But
Mhm.
I'll say, just like from gameplay perspective, I mean, like, I don't think the British guns are necessarily where they're supposed to be. I think the audio needs significant fixing. Like,
Yeah,
it sounds good, but
it's so
it's
loud.
so loud. You can't hear if you killed someone or not. You know, that's like my main indicator. I think also there's a major issue, and you mentioned this first, and then I noticed it recently.
Hmm.
The Lee Enfield sniper,
Hmm.
you can't see the impact
No,
of the bullet when you
you see,
shoot.
yeah, you see the impact like maybe like 1 out of 8 shots.
Yeah, fix that. That's huge. That's
Yeah.
like a major thing.
The
Especially the scope
recoil,
being so weird.
yeah, the recoil pattern on that rifle is like it's up and to the right or up and to the left hard.
It's yeah, it's super strange. So like, let me see that. I think I mean the Bren is. I mean, let's
The
be
Bren
honest. Like the
needs an
Bren
entire
gun,
rework.
visually it looks fine, and like I'm okay with it taking up half your screen because it's a Bren gun.
Right,
That's what it
right.
did.
Which it did. It did
Yeah,
do that. Right. I'm fine with
exactly.
that.
But
But
yeah, I think it just needs to feel a little more smooth. I will say I don't really care about the whole bipod aspect. Maybe you
mhm.
add bipod as the variant for like the machine gunner class. You have one with, one without. I'm not a
Well,
gun
that,
expert,
yeah,
but
that's, I mean, that's something that I think they should have done with the BAR as well for the Americans is the
I
assault.
feel the same.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
what was it? The auto gunner should have one that's without the bipod, and then the MG
yeah,
gunner, because the MG has the BAR, and he should have a bipod on his. So no, it'd be a cool way to just have like, I mean, it's the same gun, but with a
yeah.
little variation to it. You know, it even adds even that much more diversity to the game, and it's like it's. I mean, all you do is you slap a bipod on the weapon.
Yeah, and like you remember I mean I know the BAR itself has different firing modes. They slowed the firing mode down. I would love the automatic rifle to have like the quicker firing mode, and then the
Hmm.
bipoded BAR with the machine gunner have, you know, the slower.
Right.
And I mean I think that would be.
I saw an interesting post, and I think this is accurate as well. Like, or you know, it should be implemented in the game as well. Is that the British assault? Like, I think it's like the level 9. You get like the Bren, and it's like, why? Like,
Oh, the
make
Bren and a satchel? That is
well,
insane.
well. I think it should have. Like, I saw the guy that I read the post on. I can't remember if it was Reddit or not. But he mentioned that make the level 9 British assault guy give him the Sten and a satchel. Like that would make
Yeah.
that just makes so much more sense than slapping this Bren everywhere that they didn't shoulder fire that rifle like that.
I will say at the moment, I'm kind of glad they didn't put the Sten much of anywhere because it's so bad right now. It
Well,
is
that
completely not zero. That's a
I,
separate thing. Fix the zeroing.
well, that's, and that kind of goes into the way that the British faction needs a rework because they get outclassed by the Germans hard right now. Um,
Yeah.
is the and an easy way to fix is obviously move the Sten forward and the Mark IV in front of the P14 and the Lancaster. Like, I don't understand why you would, basically intentionally change your historical classes like that. But if you did that, and then you've got the Mark IV in a bunch of these classes, and then give them the firing rate of, a trained British soldier, because they've got the Mad Minute, you could easily balance.
Yeah, the reload speed or the bolting speed needs to be a lot faster.
Right. Because I mean that because the Germans obviously are going to have more semi-autos and more automatics, but like you can easily bring the British up to snuff with a 10 round magazine bolt action with a better firing rate, and then you know what I mean. Like there wouldn't be this discrepancy that they've got now.
And for you guys at home, just kind of going quickly over like what is being addressed in 14.3 in reference to the British. They're changing the British gun sights. They're changing the British weapon sway. They're changing the British weapon fire rate and the British weapon bolt animation. Hopefully, that's what we're talking about now. And
I'm assuming that's going to be. I'm assuming the animation is going to be for the Mad Minute change. To be honest,
yeah,
because they hold the rifle completely different when they do the Mad Minute. Postscriptum has that.
Postscriptum does so well on those animations.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll tell you what I'm really excited for the British faction. Sherman Firefly frontal damage change, bruh.
Oh, and then hopefully their turn radius and stuff.
Yes. So that's not addressed though. So to give you guys that aren't like tankers some perspective. So if you remember the old model of the medium Sherman, there was a new driving model and an old driving model. The old driving model took like 20 to 30 seconds to turn. It's terrible. It barely drives, gets stuck constantly. That's what is on the Sherman Firefly. It barely moves. It's like literally a point and shoot tank, and it's terrible. It's worse than it's worse maneuverability than the Tiger, and the Tiger is actually good in the game.
Yeah.
But what they're fixing right now is not that, it seems. I hope that's the main thing they address. But right now, there's two front plates that are squared off that have the word Sacriel, which is one of the old devs, written on the front. That is considered medium armor. In Hell Loose, armor is separated into like ultra light, light, medium, large, or like heavy, I suppose. And that is medium, where the actual tank is a heavy.
Right.
So if you hit those blocks with a medium tank or a medium rocket, like a Panzerschreck or Piat would be considered medium rocket, it would pen the front, and that's a heavy tank that takes 800 fuel. So obviously, it's like the second weakest tank in the game. It's almost the weakest tank because the Sherman 75 Jumbo, even though that's useless because it can't do anything, it's stronger than that because it can't get penned from the front.
I would argue that with what you just mentioned and with the turning issues that it is the weakest tank.
Yeah, I would agree. Like I would entirely agree. It cannot turn. It can go forwards and backwards, and that's about all it can do.
Right.
My proposal, I'll tell you what, make it as fast and drive exactly the same as the medium Sherman currently. Leave the weak spots in. Keep the heavy tank turret and make it as a medium like alternate. Make it a tank destroyer type where it can be penned from mediums, but it has way faster driving speed, but it can be just as effective against medium and heavy tanks. Where the Panther currently is kind of like that alternate to the Tiger, but the Panther is just ridiculously overpowered as it has a 6-second reload versus the 8. And look at that. Also the patch notes. And this is the most excited thing I'm about. Panther reload speed being changed, baby. So I think that's going to go back to 8 seconds and will be even with all the heavy tanks, which it should have been because it's by far the best tank.
You see also where they're talking about fixing finally. This is something that, because of all the other issues that have kind of shown up, especially recently, I've completely forgotten about the double explosion effects. I'm so happy that I'm so happy that's gonna be gone because it's an eyesore.
Oh, it really is. Like I don't even like looking or like videoing explosions anymore because they just look so bad. I just cut right at the explosion.
I would absolutely love if they were able to get something along the lines of the way vehicles explode on Postscriptum. Those explosions on Postscriptum are just amazing.
Agreed. Yeah, that's huge. And I know Xbox users have mentioned this to me a lot. the missing weapon audio that's been broken since like the game launched. That's being fixed. That's huge for you guys.
Yeah, I never got to experience that because I never played the console version. But that sounds like something that would just make me want to rip my hair out. Let's talk about the loadout bug and the grenade bug. Do you think that those are going to be fixed? Or
Grenade bug, yes. And the reason being is because they've been able to successfully reproduce it
Mhm.
in internal texting consistently.
Okay.
Loadout bug, no, but I think they're close. And the reason being is they've like I have personally been able to reproduce it, and I've been in talks with the devs, letting them know. I mean, not like full on like this is how you fix it, like just letting them know how you can start it. Um, if you load into a game, you can try this yourself if you want to be stuck with the loadout bug and have to restart the game. It's great. If you start into a match
Mhm.
and you sit there, you pick your class, and you do not spawn. Don't
Right.
spawn for like a minute. It'll happen every time. Almost
That's
every
crazy.
single time. Yeah. So I think it's something to do with the squad and and like how long it takes you to go ahead and load into the game or like spawn in.
That's
And
weird.
I know Repo mentioned he had never had the grenade bug.
Right.
They seem to have targeted that it has higher latency issues. So I personally really don't have it either.
Hmm.
I've had it maybe once or twice. And I think it's because we have pretty good internet connections, but those that might run off Wi-Fi, that's probably why they've been having the grenade bug so often because it's
Yeah.
only targeted to really those people.
Well, I'm currently playing off of Starlink, so I know that my internet isn't always the greatest.
Are you getting it
And
a lot?
yeah, I get the grenade bug almost
There
every
you go.
match.
That's probably why then.
Yeah, and it seems for me it happens on the German grenade. Like the American grenade,
That one, yeah,
it's like that
agreed.
extra second or two of the untwisting of the
Pop it.
caps. Yeah, and then
Mhm.
the pop. If you mash the button while you're throwing it multiple times, like if you're impatient,
Yeah.
that definitely seems to trigger it more often than not. But I've also had it happen where I've only pushed the grenade button once and it still doesn't work. So it may be a combination of the latency and mashing of the buttons. Who knows? Let's see. Console server browsing. I mean, that's if they can get that done, I feel like if they can get the console server browser and fix the weapon sounds not happening, and then obviously these legacy bugs get fixed, I think console's going to be in a really good spot because they've already got the party system.
You want to hear my hot take?
Absolutely. I love hot takes.
Okay. All right. So I feel like I'm gonna get canceled like 10 times in your video here, but whatever. Okay. So I'm gonna read you this part, and I want you to tell me what you think about this. When the original conversion of Hell Loose on console was done, it was set up with the intention of supporting crossplay between console platforms only. As a result of this decision, an entirely separate set of infrastructure was created to support online play in a way that would meet console platform holder requirements. And then it kind of goes into the code's not the same,
Hmm.
um, and they use different platforms. We fully recognize the lift and experience that being able to select a familiar server brings in Hella Loose, and we'll continue to investigate other methods of preference selection. So, this part here that says like the initial setup, I don't know. My hot take, I think they're looking into potentially down the road doing full integration of console and PC
Oh God, you are
online
absolutely going to
crossplay.
get canceled, sir.
No, so hear me out. I'm not saying I want that. I do not want that. I want to make it very clear.
Yeah.
But
Even if they have that speculation, if they even hint at that in a dev brief, all holy hell is going to break loose, and you will see them quickly say, "Never mind, guys."
I will tell you what, I've been speaking to a lot of console players because a lot of my viewer base is from console, and they say they can take you guys on PC. I'm just saying. I
Uh,
mean,
maybe
I
if
know
they
they can,
maybe if they
but
turn the auto aim off.
yeah. So I don't think it would be a good idea, but I don't know. Like the original time I read that, I was like, huh. Like the original conversion of Hell Loose. So obviously they're gonna have to reconstruct it. How are they gonna have to reconstruct it only
I
for
don't
consoles?
I think that would be biting off a problem that's there's no point in chewing, if that makes sense. Like there, I think that would cause like there's so many other things that they could work on besides doing that.
Well, the thing is, though, it seems like they have to do it. Like they have to go ahead and recreate from the ground up a server browsing platform.
Oh yeah, they definitely
Like
didn't. There was no plans for that out from the get go, from what I can
right.
tell. So
So it's one of those things where it's like, do they build a completely separate one
mhm.
parallel, or do they build one that is in conjunction with the existing one? Like, again, this is complete pure speculation, but I'm just saying that's how I read it. Like, they have to reconstruct the entire thing. Cost effectiveness, you have to think about that. You have to
Mhm.
think about like what goes into it. Like if they do it the way they're doing it, they're gonna have to continue to go ahead and work with different platforms and services that are completely different server providers. Why don't they just combine the 2? It would make financial sense.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be a good idea,
I, I
personally,
I think that would
but
throw the game into such turmoil, both on the like the player
I
side. I don't know, dude. That sounds like mass mayhem to me. One way you could potentially do a quick fix for console is just allow them to choose, instead of just like I mean, I haven't seen it, right, so I'm assuming you just kind of like click find match after you party up. What if
that's
you
all
could
you do,
just, yeah, what if you could just pick a quick find a warfare match or a quick find a offensive match, and then you just kind of, you see what I'm saying, or quick find any match, you know what I mean, like
So,
separate the options that you have to finding one.
I think the big problem is, like, when people want to go ahead and, play together and do, like, clan matches.
Yeah.
So how do you all get together on the same map? You don't, right?
Yeah.
Like, they basically find an empty server, and then they just join until it's filled,
Right.
or they go into a full server that a lot of them can just get into, and then they just, like, basically roll it over and over and over and over and over, or like team kill everyone out of it, basically.
Right. Yeah,
That's how they do
I don't know, man.
situation.
It's a tough
Slippery
proposition
slope.
for the, yeah, for the console guys. It just I guess they added the party system and they were like, that's good enough, you
Yeah.
know, because it was just
Console, we'll get Alpine on there eventually. He has a PS5 with the game, so we'll get him on there eventually.
eventually. I don't,
But yeah.
yeah. So um the Summer Warfare is out as of July 13th. So if you're looking to get on those new uniforms that are only seasonal for the Americans, make sure you guys grab that. Let's see. When do you think? So I know we got 14.2 being play tested on July 20th, but obviously 14.3 has a lot more meat and potatoes with it. When do you think we'll start seeing that patch roll out?
Oh, honestly, I would say within the next like 2 months, probably two to
So
three
maybe by
months.
like the end of August.
Yeah, that sounds right. Maybe
Hmm.
like August, early September,
Yeah.
and then you'll probably see like that SMDM come out like November, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious because obviously the, you know, July and August is going to be spent fine tuning some of the issues that cropped up from update 14. Um,
Yeah,
but I'm interested to see once we get into September, October, November, December, what all is going to be coming our way, because hopefully by then they should be knocking out these initial things that they've posted in this dev brief. So I feel like those months will be at least in the area of new things coming through.
yeah, but remember too, like I don't know if this is in conjunction with or separate to, but SMDM is coming out, but they're also mentioning another portion that they're delivering
Hmm.
100-player maps too. So there's other maps.
Right,
Either
right,
I
right.
don't know if it's one or two or just one map and SMDM night, that are also coming out at some point this year for
Yeah.
sure. And that they're postponing the small map one.
To me, it makes sense that night variants basically give you new maps for the Americans, whereas like new maps should be coming for the Russians and the British, because obviously those two need to be fleshed out more.
Would you like to see a summer map? Would you like to see like a
Oh,
winter map? Would you like to see like a desert map? Would you like to see like
I think
another Netherlands map?
I think it depends on the faction. So like for the British, I think we need to definitely include more maps that are not in the desert as of right now. I think people are kind of over that. Maybe even a rework of LLMA, just like not necessarily big changes, but maybe adding just like more cover, because it seems like people are getting destroyed by the MG42 out there. I would love to see some market garden for the British. I would love to see a, like, we've got Stalingrad, we've got
I like to see urban,
yeah, we've got
like a market garden urban map.
yeah, there's a lot to explore with the British outside of Africa. And then for the Russians, I mean, you could even just do different areas. I mean, you've already got Stalingrad, but it's kind of like I can't remember what the time period is, but I think it's like fall, like September or whatever. If we could see a snow map for Stalingrad, and then obviously you've got all these other battles along the,
Would
the
you want it as urban Stalingrad again, like it is
uh
now, or would you like it
yeah,
like
and
more?
that's the thing. I mean, they could even take inspiration from some of the old Call of Duties, like, and just because you got Leningrad, you got Stalingrad,
Oh,
you've got
Leningrad would be sweet, dude.
dude. That's what I'm saying. Like, some of this stuff is like it's just laid out for them. They just need to like just take it and run with it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different things that they can do. The Russians, they've got obviously Kursk and they've got Kharkov and they've got Stalingrad, but there's different areas of those like maps, you know what I mean, that look completely different.
They
Like,
already have a snow map though, so I don't know if I would want another snow map for the Russians. I would
yeah,
want a snow map probably for the British in that case.
but but the snow map for the Russians are it's all open. What if you got a snow urban map? See what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. That's
you
a good point.
it doesn't really matter, I guess, time of season more other than just changing up the style of the map.
I would want some Kursk like atmosphere, like the landscape
Hmm.
with like an urban map, some sort of field like around it, kind of like a mix of like Driel
Right.
and Kursk maybe, where there's some tight spaces, almost like SME, I guess, like a city
Right.
with fields around it. That'd be cool, like a Russian landscape like that, Ukrainian landscape.
Yeah. I mean, you can go back and look at COD 1, COD 2,
Mhm.
COD 3 even, and there's a lot of good inspiration that they can take from those different maps and just expand upon it into Hell Let Loose. Honestly, like if I was a game developer and I was a map designer, World War II would just be, to me, so easy to design for, as far as like picking a location and the style of the map. Just because like there's
So
so
many notable
yeah, I mean
areas.
it's even if it's the same battle at the same city, there's so many different areas of those battles that play entirely different, like, you know, than what, like, you've got on Kursk, a big open field, but then like you said, there's also Kursk with city environments.
I'm just all about the urban. Urban's like Quarantine's my favorite map. So
Yeah, that I do think that so as a sniper and a long distance shooter in these games, I do love my open fields. But I do think that Hell Let Loose could use an influx of urban
dude,
maps.
I would argue that Quarantine's probably one of your favorite ones because you've had some of your best games in the attics of
Oh,
Quarantine.
well, Carrington is just like, it's super sweet because it's a very 50, it is, while it is urban and there's a ton of buildings and everything like that,
There's some
um
open areas.
there's plenty of open areas as well. There's room in Hell Let Loose for some very dense urban fighting. Because I mean, and then there's even the entire country of Germany that they could explore, kind of like
Dude,
that.
Berlin,
Yeah,
Snow Berlin would
exactly.
be the map I would want, man.
Exactly.
Like
I think a lot of
a
people have wanted to
is
see
it
a
snowing?
Berlin.
It
I'm not
over? I don't know.
100% sure. I know it's towards the end of the war. I'm not. I
I don't
can't
care.
remember off the
Just
top of my head, but
Berlin. Give me Berlin, and I would be happy.
I
Yellow
saw where you
banding and
mentioned
stuttering.
that the rubber banding and the stuttering is obviously they're implementing fixes server side, and um,
Yeah.
they also, if in the paragraph, they mentioned that there's some potential old code that could be causing some issues that they need to delete out. What other information do you have on that?
Yeah, so just coming from someone who helps run the server, I'm kind of like in the know with this part. But our server, Glow's Battleground and Outpost Hot Dog 7, as well as three of the UK servers, partnered up with Hell Loose to implement a patch onto the server, and it was targeted on the rubber banding. It
Hmm.
has worked significantly well, like really, really well to pretty much remove rubber banding. I've
Really?
even been told and asked from other server owners, like, when is it being released like wide? Because it's unbearable to play on their servers.
Right.
I've had like nothing. So they've confirmed the fix, it's working, and it has resulted in positive testing, and they are now running it out on all of the servers soon.
That's awesome. When is that going to be like a hot fix type thing, or is that going to be a 14.2 thing?
I don't think you'll be able to see it. It's an actual like update. So we ran it prior to any formal update.
Oh,
It's
I
a
see.
back end thing.
It's a
So
backend
it'll
thing.
just happen. Yeah, it'll
Okay.
just happen. I don't have a time frame on that, but they'll be able to go ahead and just update the server. Your server will probably go offline for like an hour or something like that,
S-
probably overnight or something, and then you'll
So,
notice it.
so maybe a dev brief will cover that.
Probably just mention that it's
Hmm.
in effect. But yeah, it's definitely working. Again, if you want to see it, I can't remember the UK servers, but it's on Saucy Muffins Beer House. It's on Outpost Hot Dog 7, and it's on Glow's Battleground. Try those three US servers, and you'll see the difference between the two. It's on those servers currently.
Oh, nice.
There.
Could you imagine if Team 17 released this dev brief on the at the end of December or early January? Like,
Oh, great.
yeah, people would have
Well,
been heavily on board, I feel like, and they also would have given them a lot
yeah,
more grace to bring in whatever new content or ideas that they had.
exactly. It's just a shame, but I mean, I'm glad we got it now, man. This is all great.
Yeah. Because for Hell Let Loose, I mean, obviously it's an indie title, but like Hell Let
Yeah.
Loose absolutely has the potential to reach AAA status.
I think the foundation's there. It is its only style of game in its category. It is an
Right.
approachable, realistic game, you know?
Do you have any final thoughts or things that you feel like should be covered before we sign out?
Yeah, super important thing. Reddit AMA and War Correspondent Podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, July 19th on Reddit. If you wanna go ahead and ask devs questions, there will be some devs there to ask questions to. They're doing a live Reddit AMA, and that'll be pretty I don't have a time for that. I'm sure they'll post it, but a dev will be there to answer all your questions. And heads up, I have a podcast, if you didn't know, Raz War, Razcast. Alpine has been on a handful of times. If you want to see Alpine on it, we'll be on uh, periodically here. But it's every Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. It's co-hosted by the Fresh Baked Goods, and we will be having new stuff being announced on the
hmm
Razcast and a dev brief.
Like I said earlier, I'll link Raz's socials in the comments so you guys can check him out. He's a big supporter of Pellet Loose over there on Twitch. He also plays some other tactical style games, Ready or Not, 6 Days in Fallujah.
Whatever you're playing, I'm usually we're playing together. So
That's
whatever
fair.
games
That's
you're
fair.
playing.
If you wanna witness Raz and myself live, chances are you can check us out on the weekends during his podcasts or Squad Up Sundays, Saturdays too, though, right?
Yeah, we've been squatted up with viewers like every Saturday and Sunday. So whenever you guys want to come on, like we always have someone on. It's either Fresh, Alpine. Alpine's there. Like that's usually when we play is like always on the weekends. Like
Yeah,
you're almost always there every weekend. We have
yeah.
Husk hop on, Mono, Terry. We have Nano come on from time to time. Sherman comes on from time to time. Vade. We have a ton of creators. So anytime you guys want to hop in, man, I would love to have you guys. You can chat with Alpine and I live and ask
hmm
questions, play with us if you want to play with us.
That'll be it for us for this dev brief review and some of our opinions on it. Until next time, I will see you guys out on the battlefield and stay frosty.
See ya.